talk to me like I'm stupid. Why are you even here anyway? You're a woman. You should be starting a family right now.
r/entitled parents. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Grandmother Thinks It's Improper for a Girl to Be Working in GameStop, from user Had Her Hair. After that, Karen's middle seat, not actually hers, from user SunnyKL. And after that, entitled Parent Destroys My Racket So I Wouldn't Defeat His Son at a Tournament, from user RaringFob399. And then we'll be wrapping up with entitled Karen Yells at a Store Associate Over a Company's Policy, from user My Life Kinda Sucks Now. Thank you so much to our authors for letting us read your stories. And if you're an author who would like to hear your stories on the channel, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And welcome to the newest members of the Re-Army, Jonathan, Squishy Sly J, and Sky Guardian. And if you're new, join the Re-Army by subscribing for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled Grandmother Thinks It's Improper for a Girl to Be Working in GameStop. Hello everyone. I've been listening to Mr. Reddit while at work, and it reminded me of a story of when I worked at GameStop a few years ago. Grab a snack and stay hydrated as I tell you the tale of a crazy old lady telling me that I'm not supposed to work in a video game store. It was a pretty sunny day outside on a Friday afternoon. I didn't have classes that day, and my manager asked me to come in on my day off since one of my coworkers was out sick. Since I was a broke college student and liked working for this manager, I was all but happy to take an extra shift. Things were pretty slow that day, so I started to organize the Xbox 360 games up on the shelves when our lovely grandma and her grandson came into the store. Our cast. We've got the entitled grandma, the grandson, who is a pretty nice kid, me, and the manager. Always said, "Good morning," to customers, no matter the time of day. "Hello, welcome to GameStop. Is there anything I can do to help you?" Entitled Grandma looked at me with a face of disgust and scoffed as she walked past me. I was pretty confused since I usually get at least a hello from customers, but I didn't want to push it and just continued with my organizing. After a few minutes, I could hear grandson talking to entitled Grandma about Left 4 Dead 2 and other zombie games that he wanted to get with his birthday money. Now, grandson looked to be 7 to 8 at the most, so I didn't think it was the best idea for him to be playing games like that. But again, I didn't say anything and finished with the shelves, returning to behind the counter to do a bit of cleanup. I hear the smack of plastic on the counter a few times later with an impatient, wrinkly face staring at me in a "I'm waiting" expression, and grandson looking super excited. "Hello again, ma'am. Were you able to find everything okay?"
Yes. Please just check us out. I want to be rid of this place.
Okay. I took a look at the two cases on the counter, Resident Evil 6 and Plants vs. Zombies. "Excuse me, ma'am. By company policy, I have to inform you that this game," pointing to Resident Evil 6, "is rated M for mature."
And what does that mean?
She scoffed again. "Oh, it means," I proceed to read the label on the back of the case, like blood, violence, alcohol use, etc.
Well, of course there's violence. It's a zombie game.
"I know that, ma'am. I'm just doing my job to inform—"
Don't talk to me like I'm stupid. Why are you even here anyway? You're like 15. You're too young to be working here.
I was 20, but I do look like I'm younger than my age. But 15? I shook my head. "I'm actually a college student."
A college student? But you're a woman. You should be starting a family right now.
This actually pushed my buttons, most of them. My family has been telling me the same thing since I was about to finish high school, and that I should be making babies and getting married rather than getting an education. I didn't need someone to tell me that again. And if she thought I was 15, was she expecting me to be a mother already? That's pretty creepy. "Ma'am, do you want the games or no?" I was pretty much done with her at this point.
I do, but I don't want a woman to get them for me.
Thanks for contradicting yourself there.
I have a grandson that would make beautiful babies with you. Let me show you what he looks like.
Entitled Grandma proceeded to take out an old wallet and show me a picture of a pimple-faced preteen.
See? Isn't he handsome?
I roll my eyes. Whatever you say.
Are you saying that my grandson is ugly?
She slammed her wallet onto the counter.
How rude!
Ma'am, if you continue to yell, I will have to get my manager.
Do it then. You shouldn't even be working here anyway. Women have no right to be working in a place like this. You should be at a hospital like a normal woman.
I throw my hands up in the air, giving up on this entire situation, and walk to the back room where my manager was in a business call. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but there's an old-fashioned lady telling me to have babies with her preteen grandkid. My manager spat out the coffee he was drinking and excused himself from his call, where entitled grandma immediately started to yell at him for hiring a woman to do a man's job and illegally hiring an underage worker. Grandson this whole time was red-faced and just wanted to leave. I gave him a quick pat on the shoulder and told him this would be over soon.
Get out of my store. Excuse me? How dare you tell me to get out? I'm a paying customer.
Actually, I believe grandson is. He wanted to buy these games with his money, right?
Yeah, I saved all my money just for today. Entitled Grandma, stop making today suck.
Entitled grandma gasped, and it sounded like a dying donkey.
Now you're telling me off? Wait until I tell your mother.
Manager, should I call the police? He nodded, and I went behind the counter to call them. Manager continued to argue with entitled grandma for another 20 minutes. Some pretty colorful insults I don't feel comfortable saying, but my favorite was,
That girl's nothing but a nasty. You only hired her so you could get all the boys to come here and do nasty things with her.
Yes, she actually said that. Entitled grandma was arrested since we didn't even give her a charge to argue and let the police look at the cameras. I don't know what she was arrested for exactly, but I remember my manager saying it was pretty bad. I graduated with an associate's degree in animation and game design the next semester, by the way. I guess I'm not a normal girl after all. Next we've got Karen's middle seat, not actually hers. Another Karen on a plane post reminded me of this lovely experience last month. Due to a new procurement process mess at work nobody cares about, I booked a flight to my conference destination really late. All that was left were middle seats or ponying up personally for an upgrade, which wasn't going to happen for a relatively short flight. Out in the boarding area, they announced many, many times that it was a full flight and kept begging people to gate check their bags. It wasn't subtle. After they let all the military, first class, frequent flyers, and blah blah blah, need more time people board, my group got to plod down the jetway. Once we got onto the plane, I could see my fate before me. A wild Karen was sitting in an aisle seat. The middle was piled with Karen crap. Backpack, electronic devices, stuffed animal, snacks, and a miniature Karen was over in the window seat, happily kicking the empty seat in front of her so hard it was visibly shaking. Joy. That's, counts Rose, definitely mine. When I got to the row, I pointed to the middle seat to indicate it's mine. Karen did not budge or move a single thing from that crap hinge. I tried again with the whole, sorry, that's my seat, routine. She snapped at me.
Sit somewhere else.
I'm all, can't do that, full flight. This is my assigned seat. Well, Karen wasn't having that. Did I know what kind of day she had had?
It started the day before. Our flight was diverted. We missed our connections. We slept in the airport overnight. We just need a little space. Sit somewhere else.
And she shoved her knees up full against the seat in front of her, blocking my way into the crappy, even before she loaded it with Karen Cruft middle seat. Then she shut her eyes and pretended to be asleep. I slammed the flight attendant button over her head and awkwardly crouch in the row behind so people can get past. We had already made a scene and clogged up boarding. As I crouched there, I realized nothing about Karen's story made sense. We weren't at the big city airport where flights sometimes did get diverted. We were at the tiny regional airport that only had a couple airlines that flew to a few major hubs. No connections happened there. There also weren't a bunch of other people griping about missed connections, diversions, or having slept in the airport. When a tiny regional has that happen, everybody knows. Karen was probably full of crap. Anyhow, the saintly flight attendant arrived to ask what was wrong. She checked my ticket. Yeah, that was unfortunately my seat. Then she asked Karen to see her and the kids' tickets. Karen kept her eyes closed and continued to pretend to be asleep. I don't know how she thought that would work, but the flight attendant shook her shoulders several times and kept speaking loudly to her. You must remember, boarding is going on all around this. People were hefting bags, trying to find seats, and the usual loud mayhem. It was ridiculous. Flight attendant told Karen that if she didn't respond, paramedics would be called about an unresponsive passenger. That got Karen's attention. She popped up and demanded,
"What? I'm trying to sleep."
and then went off on the same rant she did at me about her travel nightmare and needing the space. Flight attendant explained that it was a full flight and the seats were booked, standby passengers were waiting for any extras, and Karen needed to let me sit. This sent Karen into wails over being separated from her baby by a stranger. Flight attendant pointed out that she booked the aisle and window seats herself, leaving that separation, so she could either ask me to swap or sit in them as assigned. That set off another rant. Apparently, some frequent flyer travel advice sites out there says to book window aisle and hope nobody sits in the middle so you get free space. I imagine this works on flights that aren't full. This one was full. Karen swore she got that tip for how to get an extra seat free off airline's website and threw quite the fit that after they told her to do that, she was being punished by being separated from her baby. Meanwhile, the people in the row in front arrived, and Mini Karen was still kicking away like she was at soccer practice. It was so bad, the guy in the window seat didn't even want to sit down. He leaned over and asked the kid to stop kicking. Mini Karen let out an unholy wail of,
"Stranger!"
that she had apparently been trained to do if a stranger spoke to her. Karen turned from her screaming fit at the flight attendant to take in the scene of an adult man the row in front of her, looking at her child in horror, and the child wailing,
"Stranger!"
at the top of her lungs, only to turn right back to the flight attendant while pointing at the dude and demanding,
"Get this creep off this plane immediately!"
That's where flight attendant went from firm and reasonable to utterly brilliant. She sagely nodded at Karen. We can't remove him from the flight because he hasn't done anything to your child, but we can certainly get you two reseated if you're not comfortable with your current location and situation. Gather your things. We'll take you up to the desk and see if there are any upgrades available to the more space seats. It was amazing. Karen puffed up in self-importance as she gathered her now happy spawn and all their crap. She threw elbows like mad, shoving her way upstream past all the people still trying to board. She had heard the magic word, upgrade, and she was going to get there before it was gone. I sort of cursed to myself that they probably were upgrading her to make her calm the heck down, and was not thrilled that her ridiculous display worked. Then, flight attendant's coworker came back to ask if I preferred the window or aisle to my middle seat. Aisle, thanks. At least I got that, right? It got better. Flight attendant's coworker explained that I could relax because Karen and entitled kid wouldn't be returning. There were no upgrades. It was faster and easier to get them off the flight that way than calling security. They filled the seats with waiting standby passengers, and presumably Karen had plenty of space to sit next to her mini Karen in the terminal while waiting for the next flight. Well played, flight attendant. Well played. Next up we've got entitled parent destroys my racket so I wouldn't defeat his son at a tournament. Hi guys. First of all, I would like to thank you all for the support I received in my first post. I also received a lot of feedback for my English grammar, and I am willing to improve it in this new post. For the ones who don't know about it, English isn't my native language since I'm Mexican. Anyway, hope you like this one as well. So, a little backstory. After the incident with my arm, due to the entitled parent in my first post, I decided to get into a sport to challenge myself and to practice more with it. So I get all of my mobility back, and so I did with a racquetball. For the one who didn't know, it is more or less like squash, but with a way more big and bouncy ball, and also different racket styles. After almost 2 years of practicing, when I was 15, my trainer told me that I should enter a tournament since the winners would be getting a trip to play in the state tournament, and, if winning, also in the national tournament. So I did it. Let's meet the cast. We've got my mom, the trainer, the entitled parent's son, cool adversary by the way, the referee, and me. So, this happened during the quarterfinals of the state tournament. It was really hard to get there since many of the participants were experienced people, but I managed to get that far. However, when it was around 5 minutes for my turn to play my next opponent, I feel someone tap on my shoulder. And here he is. A huge man who seemed to have changed all his hair to his beard, just staring at me with a sort of fake smile and an unnatural killing glare in his eyes. Dialogue was something like this.
Hi.
Hello?
So, you do play good, boy.
Thanks, I suppose.
You know, the boy you are about to face is my son. He has been practicing this for years.
Me, supposing it was just an attempt to be a good sportier. Well, me too. I suppose it's going to be a really good match then.
Yeah, sure. You'll see. I was actually wondering if you could just, quit.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it is not a big deal. Also, you will actually do yourself a favor, since I know my son would wreck you if you face each other.
I'm actually upset with his attitude. Okay, then we will see who the best player is.
Are you for real?
My trainer's like, hey, it's your turn now. Entitled parent stopped his sentence and just walks away with a really bad mood. I swear that if glares could kill, his could be the John Wick's version of them all. So the game started, and it was a really good game. We were actually really tied. However, I was gaining the lead of it. Just a few minutes later into the game, a horn is played. This means that something has happened and the game needs to be stopped. It appeared that in the game that was at our side, also to decide the semifinalist, one of the contestants fell off and got a lesion, so he wasn't able to play and needs to get to the hospital. As I got out of the game room to see what has happened, I left my racket at the side of my competitors. Huge mistake. So it appears that while everyone was distracted, entitled parent saw it as a chance to sabotage me so his son could win. He literally entered the room and destroyed my racket as if a bowling ball had passed through it. Fortunately, this wasn't unnoticed. My trainer says,
Hey, what the heck are you doing? Nothing.
My mom was like,
Hey, that is my son's racket. What are you doing to it?
What entitled parent said next actually shocked me.
Oh, well, I was just assuring that nothing happened to it. But when I got here, it was like this.
What? I literally saw you breaking the cords. The referee was like, Sir, I must tell you that this is a severe infraction to the game rules. Your son can't play in the tournament.
This isn't fair. I didn't do anything. Surely it's just a poor trick of him.
Referring to my trainer.
To get his student to the semifinals, since he can't do a darn thing against my son.
Well, this can be fixed by simply looking at the cameras that are recording the matches. Suddenly, every inch of security in entitled parent's face vanished. I just limited myself to observe the show. Okay, sir. I am sorry, but as the camera shows, you are guilty, so your son will be disqualified. Entitled parent's son was like,
Oh, not this again. Thanks for not trusting in me, Dad. Even if I couldn't win, it was because my opponent was better and deserved to win fairly. Oh, come on. I was just trying to help you. I'm sure you could win anyways.
Then why did you sabotage me instead of trusting him? At this moment, a mix of rage and embarrassment was shown in both entitled parents' face and voice.
This doesn't concern you. Also, don't be that confident. You don't have a racket, so you can't play anyways.
No, Dad, this does concern him since you broke his racket. And yes, he does have a racket.
At this point, I was actually surprised, since entitled parent's son grabbed his own racket, which was way newer than mine for what I could see and was way more expensive as well, and gave it to me.
Please, take this as an apology for my dad's behavior. I hope you win the tournament.
At this moment, my mom and trainer arrive with the security of the police, so they take entitled parent away with his son. Entitled parent was enraged at this moment because his son was on my side of the dispute. Trainer asked my mom if she wanted to press charges, but she said that I was the one who should take the decision, to which I happily said no, since I actually got a new racket in that situation, and I felt bad for the kid having to deal with his dad. What happened next was that I got myself into the finals, but ended up losing against the one who actually made it into the semifinals in the national tournament. For what I can tell of Entitled Parent, he received obligatory parenting courses and is a way better person now. Also, his kid is one of my best friends anyways. So that's it. Hope you liked this post. If I see you like it, I will probably upload another one next week. Also, if you see any misspellings or something like that, please tell me in the comments so I can correct it later. See ya, folks! And our final story of the day. Entitled Karen yells at a store associate over a company's policy. Background. I work for a shoe company, and it's not an outlet, where the shoe boxes are all on the sales floor, so I have to provide full service, measuring feet, getting the shoe boxes from the back room, etc. And this was during December. 'Tis the season. I had gotten a brand new store manager that was a real piece of work, scheduled me for over 40 hours a week when I was only legally allowed to work a maximum of 20 hours, and when she was assigned work from our district manager, she would dump the work on me and take the day off. She lied about being pregnant for about 2 months before actually getting pregnant, so also an entitled parent. But this story isn't about her. So, company policy on gift cards during the holiday season was to call a certain number to verify a customer's card and ID had matching addresses to prevent fraud. Our mall had a problem with credit card stealing. This was company policy, and failure to do this was termination. In comes the entitled lady. For our cast, we've got my crappy manager, we've got the entitled lady, we've got Adam, who's the manager from another store, and me. We were horribly understaffed, and it was a very busy Friday, and it was just the manager and me with about 15 people in a small store at a time. At this point in the day, everyone was trying to check out, and I'm usually very quick about checking people out until entitled lady comes to my register. This conversation is paraphrased because I repressed the memory of this woman.
I want a gift card,
She demanded, didn't even say please. Whatever, I'm used to rude customers. No problem. I just have to call a number to make sure your address on your ID matches your credit card. I picked up the store phone.
No. Why do you need to do that?
She got more irritated. It's just to prevent fraud in our store, ma'am. She interrupted me.
Well, my address isn't going to match. I moved a few months ago.
I was a little nervous because I rarely get customers that yell at me, and I don't like it when people raise their voices at me. Well, I'm sorry, ma'am, that I cannot sell the gift card to you. If you want to avoid the whole call procedure, you could pay in cash.
I don't carry cash.
At this point, I looked over at manager for assistance because I don't get paid enough to get yelled at by Karen. Of course, manager made sure to ignore my silent pleas and continued checking out her customers. Jerk. Ma'am, I cannot sell you the gift card. I'm sorry.
Just do it. I've been to so many stores today to find this store's gift cards, and I couldn't find them anywhere but here.
Our gift cards are only sold in our stores. At this point, I'm tearing up because I don't handle being berated for something I can't change very well, and I walked to the back room. The store phone rang, and it was another location. I answered. Hey, it's Adam. Can you ask? I interrupted him. Adam, I can't do this. This woman keeps yelling at me. I explained the situation, sobbing. Adam was the manager that trained me to be at this location, and he was a cool guy. He told me to calm down and that manager will take care of it. She didn't. And since he forgot what he called for, he just wished me the best of luck the rest of my shift and hung up. I had stopped crying. I was gone for maybe 5 minutes from the floor when I came back out. The woman was still there with an annoyed look on her face.
I have money now. Can I buy the darn card now?
Yes, ma'am, you can. I did not say another word to this woman and just handed her the card after I put the money in my register. She snatched the card and stomped out of the store, mumbling insults about me and the store. The rest of the customers who had been waiting to get checked out weren't upset because they knew how unreasonable the woman was being, and all apologized, and the rest of my shift went off without any more angry Karens. I still tell that story. I work at the same shoe company, but at a different location with my awesome manager, and when I told her the story, she talked about how she would have kicked out the woman. So yeah, don't yell at associates about our company policy. We didn't make it, and we aren't paid enough to endure your abuse. Thank you for reading.
Leave a ring in the comments for Mr. Reddit, or I'm going to take your video games and give them to my son!
And congrats to our Read Generals of the Day. Anna Lane, King of Bucks, Jacinta Skay, and Brandon Gondek. That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.